Good morning. It just occurred to me, this I've always known, but I want to say it to you. Each one of you is an expression of divine love, and it's my joy and honor to be among you and to be able to share with you some of my thoughts this morning. I've come to appreciate how much it means to have a spiritual community, how much it means to co-create with people who share a deep spiritual longing within themselves to tap their potential and to express the peace and harmony and joy that is our true divine nature. I've come to appreciate that because I wasn't always in this space in my life. There was a time when I recall playing a game, some kind of board game, with some members of my then family. And it was some kind of game where you would draw a card and you would have three options of what you would rather do. And I believe everyone else would guess what you would pick, and then you would share what you picked and talk about it. So I remember specifically drawing a card that said, would you rather swallow a live goldfish? Would you rather live on an island all by yourself? Or would you rather do some other option? I can't even remember. And I chose to live on the island all by myself. And they actually argued with me, saying, oh no, Donna, it would be so easy. You just swallow the goldfish and then it'd be over with. And I go, no, give me the island. And the reason I remember this is that stuck with me for some reason. And for years, I actually longed for an experience like that, which only shows me today how deeply I wanted to find that deep stillness inside myself, how deeply I wanted to come to know the essence of who I really am. And at the time, it took sequestering myself away. Fast forward a few years, I remember watching the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks. Remember that movie? God bless Wilson. You know, Tom Hanks had a dirty hand, smacked his hand against a volleyball, and had his best friend. And then as he was trying to leave the island, the volleyball drifted off the raft. And I sat in the theater and cried. I cried real tears. I just burst into tears. Well, right then and there, I knew that I could not live on an island all by myself. So it's been a journey to go from this place of self. It's all about me. It's all about my experience, and it's all about my life, to a place of true spiritual community. When I first found unity some 30 years ago, it was like I had found the wellspring of the fountain of youth, of water that would nourish me for the rest of my life. And I was so thirsty. I needed to know about my divine potential. I needed to know that I was not at the mercy of the circumstances of my life, just trying to make the best choices with whatever I could. I needed to know that there was something inside of me that supported me, that was in my favor, that was working with me to express the highest and best of me. So for many years, I studied everything I could to learn about moi. How can I have more prosperity? How can I have better health? How can I have peace? How can I? And that's absolutely necessary. And I grew, and I began to thrive. And then at some point in my life, I got, how can I say this? I got kind of bored with that. You know, if it's all about me, all I ever know is me. Well, there's a whole lot of other people in the world, and there is a whole lot of experiences that you are having on my behalf. So I began to open up myself to really being in community and what that really means in terms of contributing something of value and receiving the enrichment that sustains me. So today I am concluding Birthing a Greater Reality, the series that Unity Temple on the Plaza has been presenting for the last several weeks. And Bob Brummett, the author of the book, talks about the journey from the self-awareness into that of birthing a new reality of an enlightened community, an intentional community, a community of people who can express as a collective what we hope to express in our individual lives personally. So I want to give you an acronym just to kind of frame what I'm going to share with you. This year is leap year. I guess you guys know that next week we're going to have an extra day in our week. I always loved leap year because I had a classmate at age 16. She said I'm 4 years old because she was born on leap year. I thought, well, aren't you the lucky one, you know? So the acronym LEAP, L-E-A-P, and for me it stands for listening, evolving, appreciating, and participating. Within this acronym, I'll share with you the 5 guidelines that Robert Brummett gives in his book for helping each one of us to move forward in our lives so that we can birth a grander, greater reality in which we can live and move and have our being. One of those guidelines that he gives is listening. Listening. I came out of the womb talking, okay? Talk, 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 talk. I was known in my school for never shutting up. Talking, 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 talking. And then I overheard somebody say, well, I think she talks so much because she's nervous. That was a good piece of feedback. So I began to observe myself when I talked and how much I talked, and was there anything worth saying that I was saying? And eventually, it took me many years of just maturing to get to the point where I actually enjoy listening to other people. And because I enjoy listening to other people, I try to clear myself out of preconceived notions or matching story for story while they're talking to get caught up in my own thing before it's my turn to share, it's my turn to share. And to just be present and do deep listening. Whenever we are able to deeply listen to each other in a safe place, in a compassionate place, we actually rewire our brains. Our hearts open up and become more compassionate, and there is a bond that is forged between the person that we are listening to and what is being said. There is a deep, deep connection. But there are various ways to listen. There's listening to one another, which is very important. But there's also listening to yourself and what's coming out of your mouth. That's an eye-opener for me. Did I just say that? Sometimes I'm impressed and sometimes I'm embarrassed about what comes out. But whatever comes out, comes out. And if I'm not aware of what I'm saying, then it's a lost moment for connection to myself, with me. And then the third way of listening is to listen deeply to that voice of spirit that comes to us through intuition, it comes to us through revelation. It may come as someone else is speaking, and all of a sudden an idea or an insight arises. So whenever I'm practicing deep listening, which I hope is most of the time, I'm listening to the person in front of me, but part of me has an ear attuned to spirit. So it's this dual world that I'm participating in order to know what is my response, how am I showing up, what is the best way to embrace love and compassion and harmony, how can I be an instrument of peace. So listening, being mindful of what people are saying, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, and mindful to the voice of spirit is absolutely essential for moving forward in your life. When we practice deep listening, automatically we will begin to evolve, which is my next word in the word leap. We begin to evolve. Robert says one of the guidelines for the evolutionary trajectory for those of us who want conscious evolution is to make friends with paradox. And for me, that means we have to begin to see the polarities in our lives and do the work that is necessary to integrate them to the point where we transcend. We transcend those things that seem to contradict and pull us apart. Some of the paradoxes that Robert gives in his book is, I really want to be free, but I want to be secure. So what does that security mean? Can you be secure in your freedom? When you find the way to be secure in your freedom, you have reconciled those polarities, those paradoxes. The other paradox is, I'm a physical human being. I want to enjoy my physical life completely. It's such a gift to be human. And at the same time, I want to know my divinity. I want to come from that place of spirit as I live and move and have my being as a human being. So how do we integrate these polarities? Are they really at odds? No, they are not. When we are willing to simply acknowledge that there seems to be opposing ideas, opposing motivations, and just sit mindfully and say, what is the balance here? What is the balance? What is going to help me transcend and include these experiences in my life? Because it's not either or. It's not either or. It's both and even something greater. One of the ways to deal with those dilemmas in our lives, I believe, is to set an intention, and Robert teaches this too. You set an intention of what you want to manifest in your life, how you want to experience your life. You set that intention, and then you keep your attention on the opportunities that arise to make that intention manifest. The power of intention is absolutely awesome. Once we set our minds to something, we actually activate this quantum field of infinite potential, and we begin to pull it into manifestation. So the universe always says yes. The universe is always saying, oh, is that your intention? Here's an opportunity for this, and here's an opportunity for that. Which calls us to be very mindful of what intention we have. If we have an intention to sabotage ourselves, to self-destruct, to push our good away, there'll be plenty of opportunities to do that. So what is it that we want to affirm in our life, to move forward with in our lives, and to manifest in our lives? Once we set that intention, opportunities will begin to show up, and then we have a choice. We can say yes, or we can say no. So, evolution can be accelerated once we apply our consciousness to it, or it can just happen haphazardly. But evolve, we will. Once we begin to work with some spiritual principles, we move into appreciation for what is. Appreciation, the power of appreciation and gratitude is the most potent thing I know of, and it's an expression of love. So love ultimately is the fundamental thing. But to appreciate is to really bestow the blessing of your divine energy onto whatever it is that you're appreciating. Another person, a flower, a sunset, an experience, a challenge. You know, we may not always like our challenges, and we may not always want the experience we're having, but we can appreciate the fact that we have the capacity to feel. We have the capacity to think and to engage with life, and there is no greater gift. So when we begin to appreciate life on life's terms, then we drop the resistance and we embrace our life with compassion. To embrace our experiences is another one of the guidelines that Robert Brummett gives. Dropping that resistance does a lot of things. It creates a lot less stress in your life because you're not pushing against what is. And it also helps you to see how the universe is helping you to achieve your intentions. So living in this space of appreciation opens up your heart, raises your vibration, and literally brings forth this greater consciousness. You begin to attract your good unequivocally. You begin to attract your good. You start to see evidence of it everywhere. And with that, more appreciation builds. And suddenly you enter into this vibration of unconditional love where nothing is really judged. Some things might be discerned, but there's no harsh, binding, limiting energy about it. It's just simply this awareness of compassionate love. And then the P in my little word, leap, is to participate. If you appreciate what you're experiencing, what you see around me, if you appreciate the gifts of other people, then the desire is there naturally to co-create, to be able to bring something together rather than just by yourself. It's when two or more are gathered in this divine awareness that there is that Holy Spirit energy making something happen that I of myself could not do, or you of yourself could not do. There is something that's greater than the sum of its parts that begins to come through us. Once we are in this place of participation, we know that our lives are here for a purpose. And you know, only you know what your purpose is. Robert Brummett, in the beginning of his book, says, we are here to fully experience the human, and we are here to fully experience the divine. I like that. I say that for me, and I absolutely believe that that's true, but that's the ultimate truth for him. I have an ultimate truth for myself, and my ultimate truth, my ultimate purpose, what I strive to do, is to be responsive to the impulse of spirit in my life, thereby allowing me to do the right thing at the right time and in the right way. In other words, to live by grace, to learn to live by the grace of the Holy Spirit, which is constantly pressing, it's divine life, pressing on us so that we can learn to create and express in harmony with each other. You know, eventually we start out with the little self. It's all about making the little self a better little self, making the little self a happier little self, healthier, prosperous little self. And then as we evolve and we come more into service of the divine life impulse itself, we begin to see more and more that there really is no little self. There really isn't. There's only this consciousness, this vibration that the divine spirit of life is pushing to express. I feel it. The question is, do I trust it? Do I want to be an instrument? Or do I want what I want over here? And there's no right or wrong. All paths are permissible, but not all paths further. So how deep is my commitment to this evolutionary impulse that is pounding on my heart and maybe pounding on yours? I certainly hope so. Only you can determine what your purpose is. So I have this wild little quote from Kurt Vonnegut I read Kurt Vonnegut books in my 20s, and recently I've revisited a few of them because I'd like to see how that man kind of shaped my head back in the day. And this is from Cat's Cradle. In the beginning, God created earth, and he looked upon it in his cosmic loneliness. And God said, "Let us make living creatures out of mud, so the mud can see what we have done." And God created every living creature that now moveth, and one was man. Mud, as man, alone could speak. God leaned close to mud as man sat up, looked around, and spoke. Man blinked. "What is the purpose of all this?" he asked politely. "Everything must have a purpose," said God. "Well, certainly," said man. "Then I leave it to you to think of one for all this," said God. And he went away. Of course, we know God hasn't gone anywhere. We cannot be separated from what we call God, that energy of immense, unlimited intelligence whose vibration is unconditional love, because it is the essence of us. There's only one presence and one power, and it is this energy manifesting as us, through us, into the world. But what does it all mean? That's up for you to decide with your life, with your own consciousness, with what you've experienced. It is up to you to see if you're ready to make the leap, if you're in midair with the leap, or maybe you've completed a leap. It's up to you to listen deeply to Spirit, to see the ways in which you are evolving, and to appreciate your challenges and all the progress you've made, and to appreciate your life and the life of other people. And it's up to you to participate. Why? Because there's no such thing as an island. You know, you suck up all the water. If there was this giant basting hose up in the universe and up went all of the water on Earth, what you would have is one land mass. So an island is an illusion. When you go deep enough, you find that which connects you to everything. And even if you look at our little planet and say, well, planet Earth is certainly an island, I bet someday we'll know how the planets are connected with something very real called an unseen energy that is intelligent, whose vibration is divine love. Make the leap this year into the life that you know is your true life, so that you can be blessed and so you can be a blessing to your local community, your family, the community of yourself, and most of all to the world.